The climate of literacy and its impact on vocabulary and comprehension. In today's presentation, we'll go over the introduction, the original data and the problem in a research, the action plan, some of the ethical considerations that went into the research, some results, the reflection, as well as the conclusion. So as an introduction to my research proposal, the purpose of it was to evaluate the impact that the climate of literacy within a classroom and school has on students' comprehension and vocabulary. The main problem in this research study is that students in the third grade at East Elementary School have shown deficiencies in the areas of vocabulary and comprehension through the use of data from beginning of year benchmark assessments and end of year ACAP assessment data. The ACAP assessment data was data from the 2022 to 2023 school year, as well as 2021 to 2022 school years. Some background knowledge. A climate of literacy involves reading strategies, a read aloud, teacher modeling, and an environment that promotes literacy, such as a classroom library that is useful to students on all levels represented in the class, not just the higher performers or for the ones that struggle. A learning environment includes display of materials made by the students in the classroom is a symbol of students' achievements. It can also work as a stimulus and learning tool for the students. The more sense organs we use in learning, the more will be the learning. Display of materials will provide an opportunity for visual learning. This also goes into effect with Piaget's theory of students learning in an environment that helps them to learn and research more. They gain knowledge from the environment that they are in. So the timeline of this, first, the researcher, which is me, will review last year's ACAP data as well as the beginning of year benchmark assessments to determine which areas of reading have the most deficiencies. This will take place in August. And then throughout the year, students have benchmark assessments through Dibbles the 8th, iReady Diagnostics, Maze, and these will occur in August, December, and April. The next part after reviewing data is also creating a literacy climate. So all third grade teachers will create a literacy climate within their classrooms, which would detail having leveled libraries, making sure that they are modeling reading, also making sure that student work is on the walls in their classroom as well as outside of their classrooms. Teachers will also continue to monitor vocabulary and comprehension growth through the use of Open Court weekly vocabulary and comprehension assessments. Students will also be monitored using Dibbles the 8th weekly, bi-monthly, or once a month, depending on their reading level, which was determined at the beginning of the school year. In April, all third grade students will take the ACAP, and the researcher will not receive those scores until late July. So the timeline for all of this ranges from August of this year through July of next year. So here's the original data before doing any research, before looking into anything. As you can see, it's grade level specific with percentage of proficiency in vocabulary and the rate of proficiency in comprehension. The grade levels that are that have the most struggle points are second and third grade. So second grade has a 54% proficiency in vocabulary with the 58% proficiency in comprehension. Third grade, 65% proficiency in vocabulary and 62% proficiency in comprehension. So that is with all of the students from East Elementary School in second grade and in third grade. Because second grade at my school would go back to the primary school, Coleman City Primary School, this year, I did not include them in the research as they would not be there the entire school year. I chose to do third grade specifically because I am a third grade teacher and I'm able to control some of the environment in the research process. So here's some more original data. Something that is very important to note is that although Coleman City Schools, especially East Elementary School, is above the state average whenever it comes to proficiencies in reading and language arts, there's still holes and there are still deficiencies within students. So as you can see, the state average for students, the percentage of being proficient in language arts, reading language arts, is 46%. East Elementary School scored 74% proficient in the 2021 school year for those ACAP scores, and there's always room to grow. And so although we were very much proficient, we were almost 30% above that proficiency of the entire state, there are still holes in informational text, comprehension of informational text, as well as vocabulary for nonfiction. Some ethical considerations that were taken into effect when starting this research project were the students, as well as how to protect students. So, although little to no risk is involved for participation in the research, consent forms will be sent home and returned signed before a student is able to be a participant. How to protect students. All students will be given a number 0 through 25 so that no names or any last names will be given out. The only person who will know each participant's name will be me. Many educators understand how vital vocabulary and comprehension are in students' lifelong success, but they do not know how their classroom impacts such success. Research shows, however, that a student's environment significantly impacts their proficiency in reading. When students are in an environment that promotes literacy through read-alouds, interactive reading lessons, and writing about their reading, they will become achievers. So student achievement in this research specifically solely depends upon the environment that they are in when learning, the environment that they are in when they begin to achieve, and the environment that they are in whenever they begin to comprehend as well as understand the words that they are reading. So part of my action plan is to do a quantitative study with a sample of 25 students from each experimental control group. The sampling technique will be simple random sampling. We have around 120 students in the third grade, so those will be taken from the 120 students. Within the 120 students, we have multiple different ethnicities, languages spoken, as well as levels of students, so that will also be taken into effect. Some collaborative efforts that are shown throughout is that all the third grade teachers are on board with the research. The students have given the consent forms back. My principal is on board with it, and my parents are aware of the research that is going on. Some of the instrumentation that will be used is iReady diagnostics for the beginning, middle, and end of year diagnostics, which place students and show their grade level that they are on. Some weekly comprehension and vocabulary assessments the Open Court, the school's reading curriculum, provides, and the ACAP assessment at the beginning of April. iReady Diagnostics. iReady is a program that our school system has adopted to help with intervention services on top of what students are already being served in with our school interventionist. So after looking through the action plan that I had originally made, something that is important to me is keeping the original instruments, but also incorporating the cold reads that third grade is already given for the Literacy Act portfolios, because these also give a good indication of students being able to understand academic vocabulary as well as comprehending text that they've never seen before. Something else that I would consider doing is doing a halfway check-in, which would be in December after the middle of year diagnostics, after the middle of the year assessments, is doing a half year check-in to see if students are growing after being in a climate of literacy. And then also the population, because I'm only teaching third grade, something that I would think would be beneficial is making the research go to all grades at East Elementary School and including all teachers to present a climate of literacy in their classroom, because third grade is not the only ones that are struggling with informational text this year thus far with our research as a school team and as a part of our MTSS team. Some next steps would be to encourage all teachers of East Elementary School to create literacy climates in their classroom, not just third grade classrooms. Step 2 would be allow students to look at their beginning of year data, last year's ACAP data, and compare it to their middle of year data that will be taken in December. So again, allowing students to take hold of who they are, of what they are doing in school, and understanding where they need to go next. And then the third part would be to ensure that all teachers have leveled libraries with books that students not only can read, but will want to read, ensuring students are seeing teachers modeling how to read aloud. And lastly, a climate of literacy involves reading strategies, read aloud, teacher modeling, and an environment that promotes literacy, such as a classroom library that is useful to students on all levels represented in the class, not just the higher performers or the ones that struggle.